Hey guys, this next guest is a real treat. It is not often that we get to have a conversation with somebody outside of the movement ecosystem, but every time we can, it is such a treat to bring it in. So we've got a wonderful guest. His name's Kevin Paul Scott. He's an author, a speaker. He's got some incredible things to say, and so sit back and enjoy what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, Andy, I just love that he jumped into, Kevin calls it out as the three P's. There's actually nine in the book that he's referencing called The Lens of Leadership, but it's perspective, purpose, and process. And so you guys, I really want you to listen for those three things. There's some really powerful nuggets in here. It is our pleasure to introduce you to Kevin Paul Scott.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Looking forward to another great episode here with the Impact team. Coach Kevin here. I've got Coach Bill here with me also. And one of my favorite people in the world is here with us today, Kevin Paul Scott. So we got K2 today. We got K2.
Nice.
Anyway, so I've had the pleasure of getting to know Kevin over the last, I don't know, what have we known each other? 6 years-ish, seven, maybe somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's been a little while. But when I first personally met Kevin, he was referred to me by a coaching client of mine, and he probably said this for like a year. It's like, hey, you really gotta meet this guy, Kevin Paul Scott. I'm like, okay, dude. And then finally it was like, okay, I think it was Trey or Troy or what's his name, Kev?
I think Trey, yeah.
Yeah, Trey. And finally we get hooked up and I'm like, dude, where have you been all my life? I mean, you are a rock star, seriously. And, Kevin has written numerous books, speaks across the country on leadership, sales, and operational performance, does a lot of work with Chick-fil-A. Actually, I think he's driving from another speaking engagement as we're on this call here today. So we'll obviously hear a little bit about that. But and it might have been Kevin's first book he wrote was The Lens of Leadership. And guys, it's one of those books that blew me away. I'm a leadership guru, Coach Bill. We're all into all things leadership. And I love when guys write about things that always start with the letter P. I don't know, what's it? Purpose, passion, productivity. But the nine strategic shifts that Kevin talks about in this book are just eye-opening, have been to me. I've shared them with many over the years. So we're blessed to have Kevin on here with us today to kind of dig in, do a deep dive into a handful of those principles that are in the book, and then he's got some new stuff that's coming out. So looking forward to hearing about that. But Kevin and I have done numerous engagements together at a previous company, and he's very familiar with the mortgage space, with the banking space. So he kind of gets us right to the core. So looking forward to having you roll through this with us today. Kev, why don't you, just kind of start out a little bit on the lens of leadership, and it's like, how'd that all come about, and a little bit about your previous, about your partnership and what you do with Addo also would be great.
Awesome. I was really enjoying that part. The only person else that would say that many nice things about me is my mom, probably. My wife certainly wouldn't. So this was, that was great. Coach Kevin, it's the whole idea behind the lens is about perspective. And I would just say this applies to every person at any stage. This applies to the producer who is absolutely crushing it right now, all the way down to somebody who just feels like they're struggling, like they can't get the chips to fall. Every one of us can benefit from a change of perspective. So I just am leaving a speaking engagement in upstate New York, and I was sharing with this team that how we view things changes how we do things. And I use this example. So Coach Bill and Coach Kevin both have some cool glasses on. I'm wearing glasses. I got these glasses when 2 years ago when I turned 40. This was my wife making me go to the eye doctor because she said I had to admit my eyesight was not what it used to be. And here's the thing that's fascinating. Anybody that's had prescription, you know this. They put these giant lenses down in front of your face, and then they change to try to get you to, A or B, number one or number two. I'm in the South, so my guy said worse or worser. And I'm like, it's definitely worser. And here's the thing that's fascinating. The chart doesn't change. The lens with which we changes differently. And that principle really is that the way we view things changes how we do things. And so, Coach Kevin, the whole idea behind the lens is if we will take something from a different point of view, perspective is the only thing in the world that can radically transform our results without changing a single element of our environment. So when people stop listening to this podcast, all the problems still exist, all the challenges, but if they can leave with a new perspective, how they view things will change how they do things, which will change the results we get.
Love it. I mean, so clearly stated, and it's just one of those things. Again, these are Kevin Paul Scottisms, right? So I just love roll into purpose, bro. I mean, seriously. I mean, I know we've done a lot of conversation around purpose, our why.
Yeah. Let me speak specifically to a movement. Or a company that is all about purpose. And so you would think that being in a purpose-driven company should make the purpose piece easier. But when we realize that the two highest rates of burnout industries are healthcare and education, these are people who go into their role for purpose. It reminds us that none of us are immune to seasons in our life where we're not locked in on our purpose. And so here's my challenge. It's not enough to have a corporate purpose. It's not enough to work for a purpose-driven company. We have to individually be so clear on our purpose that I say it this way, that when the purpose is clear, the mundane will become meaningful. The reality is, if you're in the mortgage business, there's some mundane parts of that job. I mean, you guys could tell me a whole bunch of those things. And those aren't fun. They're not glamorous. They're not exciting. But when we are so locked into our purpose, we're willing to do the mundane things because we understand how those tie into their overall goal. Can I give you a client example for a second?
That'd be awesome.
You bet.
We do a lot with great companies, Chick-fil-A being one. Chick-fil-A has an internal purpose right now. They're trumpeting called to be the most caring company in the world. And what I love that they're doing is they're tying every activity to that purpose. So when I say Chick-fil-A, and if you go to a Chick-fil-A and you say thank you, you know that they will respond with what?
It's my pleasure.
It's my pleasure. Now that is a way they show care. So that's tying that activity to purpose. But Coach Bill, if you say thank you, they say my pleasure, and the food is wrong, how cared for do you feel?
Not a lot.
If it gets you sick, that doesn't help you. But if they say my pleasure, the food is right, and you go in the bathroom and it looked like a bomb went off, you don't feel cared for. What they've understood is all mundane activities have to be tied to a meaningful outcome of the purpose. I think the same is true in the mortgage business. You've got to tie the mundane activities to a more meaningful purpose. And if you don't, you'll never consistently do the work that it takes to be great.
Love
Yeah,
that.
man, that is so good. You know, Kevin and I used to work for a company called Building Champions, which you're probably familiar with through the Chick-fil-A affiliation. And, you know, that took a long time for Building Champions to get vetted to get inside Chick-fil-A. But we went back and did a tour, and I mean, you've been there intimately, but man, the the thing that hit me was just that consistency of purpose. Not that one, because that's relatively new, I think, that they've come up with, but you could just see it, man. It went through every part of that organization, just like a, just like a river. It's beautiful. So if you're talking to somebody right now, and as you said, we are all connected to Movement Mortgage internally in this podcast, and we know we have an amazing corporate purpose. But if you were going to help somebody who's struggling right now, like I don't know what my individual purpose is, Kevin, how would you encourage them to start the process of finding that?
Yeah, two thoughts on it. And you guys, building Champions World, your background, you probably are as good at this as anybody. I would give you two things. One, I find that we usually find purpose at the intersection of affinity, ability, and opportunity. Affinity,
Mm,
ability, affinity is what we like. Now I will tell you, this is Kevin being real transparent here. I get really frustrated when people tell young people, especially, just find what you like to do. You know, that's a great hobby. That doesn't mean it's your purpose. So affinity is part of it. Ability is where your strengths, and then opportunity is what somebody going to pay you to do. Where's that? And
mm,
usually the intersection of those will find our purpose. I find that where a lot of people struggle is how to communicate it in a clear, galvanizing way.
mm.
I don't have the market on this. There's a plenty of tricks. I lead people through an activity called Life in 6 Words. Uh, I won't give you the whole story, but Ernest Hemingway there says that the greatest piece of prose he ever wrote was 6 words long. For sale, baby shoes never worn. For sale, baby shoes never worn. That legend of Hemingway has hung around, and many of the most famous people you've met have written their life in 6 words. Taylor Swift, she said her life in 6 words are my diary is read by everyone. My diary is read by everyone. John Mayer said this heart didn't come with instructions. Look, I'm not telling you 6. You can do 7, 8, 10. If you're going to have a clear, compelling purpose that's going to drive your behavior, you've got to say it in a succinct enough way that you can remember it so that you can apply it. Your paragraph purpose statement may be complete, but it's probably not going to drive your daily behavior if you
Mm.
can't remember it.
So good.
Yeah, another guy, and Coach Bill, you remember this. There was a book called The On Purpose Person. Don't know if you've
Yes.
ever heard of that, by another Kevin McCarthy. Uh,
Yeah.
right? It must be this Kevin thing. But he comes up with this 2-word purpose statement. It's like just make it 2 words. What are the 2 words that define who you are and why you do what you do? But I love the 6 word. I can deal with the 6 word. I'm digging that. All right. Well, purpose. So we're dealing with purpose. So again, this all kind of revolves around really creating clarity into why and what we're doing, right? It's all about gaining clarity is such a huge thing. And then simplicity, right? Making things simple. Go, Kev, if you could jump into a little bit, and we talked about this, and Greg McCowan's book, Essentialism, right? Um, but
The
priority,
disciplined pursuit of
right?
less is the subtitle. Yeah.
Just love that. I mean, one of
Yeah.
my favorite books of all time. So,
Agreed.
so Kev, share with us on priorities.
Yeah, you guys hit essentialism is the book here, but this is how I would. And man, when I talk to producers, especially, what I find is they often feel overwhelmed by competing priorities. Uh, Greg McEwen said it this way. He said the word priority came into the English language in the 1400s and it was singular. It meant the very first or prior thing. Greg says that the word priority stayed singular for the next 500 years.
Hmm.
And then he says this, only in the 1900s did we pluralize the term and start talking about priorities. And then he says this, illogically, we reasoned that by changing the word, we could bend reality.
Hmm.
What does this mean for somebody in the mortgage business? It means that it's not enough to have priorities. You've got to prioritize your priorities. I
Mm,
say it this way, purpose shows us when to say yes, but priority reveals when to say no. And
mhm.
I don't know about you guys. I'm a to-do list guy. I try to do all the technology stuff, but I'm a physical write down my to-do list because I get a lot of sense of satisfaction of crossing things off that list. But if I started today with 15 things and I did 13 of them and I didn't do the 2 most important, I am confusing activity with accomplishment. And so I just, the challenge is, here's where we got to shift our perspective. Your top 5 priorities, that's great, but you've got to prioritize them. If you don't prioritize the priorities, you're going to do a lot of good things and not do the most important things. And I find the most successful people struggle with this because we are wired to perform. I know you guys will use DISC and other tools. I also love Enneagram. I am an Enneagram 3. Coach Bill, you may have done it. I am wired to perform. So I often find myself being a human doing instead of a human being.
You bet.
And I'm just not doing the most important things. The takeaway here is the perspective has just to shift to prioritize the most important things we do.
So I think people will nod their heads at that, Kevin, and say, yep, that makes sense. But as a coach, the 3 coaches you have on this call, Andy's hanging out with us too, you guys. We all know that what ends up happening is people get off into the weeds of the thing that they like to do, the thing that they want to do. How do we help people stay focused on the top priority? How do we help them to play that ranking game, that championship sort of rundown to, if I do this thing, it's going to move the needle. Therefore, whether I want to do it or not, that's the thing I need to do first.
Yeah. I was in a meeting the other day and the speaker said he doesn't do Q&A, he does Q&R. So he may not have an answer. He has a response. So I'll give you a response. It may not be the right answer, but
Nice.
what I would say there is it's got to be in line with your purpose, number 1. And number 2, typically, not always, but typically the thing that you don't want to do that you're avoiding is the thing you should be moving to the top of your list.
Very true.
Like that. It's not always true, but most of the time it is.
For sure. Yeah. Brian Tracy wrote a little book about it called Eat That Frog. I'm sure you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't heard that in a while. It's so good.
Right. It's a horrific story, but it certainly makes the point. Yeah, man, that is so good. So what follows? So we got what perspective?
So there's 9 of them. We'll do all of them in here, but we got to change our perspective on purpose, priority. Let's talk about process. Changing our perspective on process.
You bet.
So we are living in 2 different camps when it comes to our affinity for process. They are wired to follow system. And that's not always bad. Others, they are entrepreneurial. They're at movement because they got big ideas and big plans. You know, the underwriters get a little frustrated with them sometimes because they like to work outside of the process maybe. Here's what I'll tell you, whatever camp you live in, you got to shift your perspective on that. And you've got to understand that as much as producing is key, a lot of what you're producing now is based on the process you put in place 6 months ago. And if you're not finding yourself succeeding right now, you've got to start putting in a process that is going to be the unglamorous, unsexy things that you've got to do on a daily basis to get to the goal you're trying to get to.
So good. Yeah, man. I mean, that's a huge money play for us right now. I think any of the coaches here would, and anybody listening to this right now would immediately identify with that, particularly since there's a lag time in our business, right? There's a 60 to 90 day gestation period, sometimes longer if you're working with new construction. So that's very real. And it's the place where I always call it, it's like picture a 66 Mustang going from LA where I live, going through the desert on a summer day. It's 110 degrees going to Phoenix and steam's starting to come out from under the hood because I'm doing 95 miles an hour and hubcaps are wobbling. And wow, that one just shot off into the desert. Like that's when you know your process needs to be reviewed. And it happens all the time in this business, all the time.
It's true. We mentioned Chick-fil-A earlier at their big conference this year. Jeff Henderson, who's a great leader on Chick-fil-A's team, was interviewing Saban. This is funny. He had a whole list of interview questions. His first question, he's like, tell me about the process. And Nick Saban riffed for 30 minutes. It was the only question he got to ask. But it shows you, man, when people get obsessed with process, the results follow.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we got to go back and look at the greats like that to see how they followed a process to be successful.
So, question for you, Bud. I've got a grandson that's at UCLA Law School right now, but a year ago, he was working at Chick-fil-A. And he told the story of the fact that they interviewed the employees and said, "Hey, what do you not like the most?" And it was the lemons. Do you remember this story?
It's just squeezing the lemons, right?
Squeezing the lemons.
Hands,
So, what did Chick-fil-A do?
they started buying them already squeezed, right? Or they
They
bought a
automated
machine.
the process.
Yeah, yeah.
They said, you guys hate this and we love you, so we want to demonstrate that we care about you. Pretty
Love it.
So
amazing,
good.
right? They're
So-
always looking at that process.
So changing our perspective on purpose, on priority, on process. Let me just give you this one. I think this is key for our working environments, is changing our perspective on people. Now, I know that some people may not need this, but I live outside of Atlanta, Georgia. I have a friend of mine who's a police officer in the inner city, and he works in the area around Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's where the Atlanta Falcons play. And I'm going to ask for an umbrella of grace here, because I made a statement to him one time that I ended up regretting. I said, man, I bet you deal with some rough folks. And I'll never forget what he said. He said, Kevin, most of the time I deal with good people on their worst days. Most of the time I deal with good people on their worst days. He understood this principle that the way you see people is the way you treat them. And if we look at our team, I think about this specifically internally as obstacles. We're going to treat them in that way. If we look at our real estate agent partners as, man, they're a pain in the butt, they're doing this, like, we're going to treat them that way. Some of us really just need a reset in perspective on a certain person who we have seen in a certain way for so long that we have put them in a box and we've put a label on it. And if this is not Pollyanna, like you see them different and everything's going to be better, but if you don't see them differently, you'll keep treating them the same way, which means you'll keep getting the same results. So the only chance we've got is to consciously choose to see them differently and try to get some different results out of the people that we're dealing with.
Yeah, that is so good, man. Coach, I don't know how that hits you, but the one thing that occurs to me is, because we hear this a lot in coaching sessions, right? I'm frustrated with this processor, this underwriter, this LOA, this realtor, classic one. Like you hit a nerve with that one for sure. But my experience is, if you help them to understand, well, yeah, but they weren't born with realtor printed across their forehead. They're a human being that you sit next to at church, that you see at the soccer game. Like, get to know them, and get past that cloudy bias that we all have, right?
So good.
Well, and just think, I mean, you go deeper on this. I mean, daily, there's going to be an issue regarding rates or fees or, some obstacle that's going to be right there in front of them that they're dealing with. And the bigger producers, they're dealing with it more because they got more, right?
For sure.
So,
Can I hit something on there, Coach
Yeah.
Kevin?
yeah.
When we think about people, this is the new work that I'm doing right now, is all around how do we create authentic connections. So at Addo, our ideal client has a geographically dispersed customer-facing workforce. So it's usually a retailer, a restaurant, a bank, a convenience store, a grocery store. They've got a central team and they're trying to get the message out. And the organizations that do it the best have figured out how to create authentic connections at scale. So it's one thing that Casey is an authentic connector. It's how do we get this at every level of our organization? And what I have found, if I had a whiteboard right now, I would draw for you a 2x2 that has the words intentionality on one axis and the words authenticity on the other. So intentionality and authenticity. If you're going to connect with people and you're going to have authentic connections, it takes both. There are some people that are high on authenticity, but they're low on intentionality. Their motives are good, They like people, they're kind, but they have not put a process in place to follow up with people and cultivate relationships. These are the people, in one of Lencioni's books, The Ideal Team Player, he calls somebody like a lovable loser. He may have used a better term, like the lovable
That's
slacker.
right.
But
Right.
but I would use that for like somebody who's authentic but not intentional. We like them, but they're not doing the work.
Yeah.
But here's my caution. There are some people that are high on intentionality, but low on authenticity. They've read How to Win Friends and Influence People. They've got the sales process in place, but when you meet with them, you feel like they are there to extract value to you. And when somebody is highly intentional but not authentic, we feel skepticism of them. And so, what I would challenge everybody listening to this is to ask yourself, where do you fit on that matrix? Because at high authenticity and high intentionality, that's where we build trust, and trust is the currency that business moves in. And so,
good, man.
we've got to be both. So we can talk about that for a minute.
You bet.
How do you guys see that play out in your business?
Well, I think we're both probably picturing loan officers, because that's the leading edge of our spear, right, of our sales organization, that do both well. As a matter of fact, there's one in your backyard. I don't know if you know Libby and John Holt in Atlanta, but you should. And they're amazing. I mean, Libby is a $75 million producer, what we call a change maker in our organization. She is technically incredibly sound, but her mission, she would tell you her purpose is to connect with people at kind of like your police officer said, maybe not the worst time in their life, but arguably one of the most stressful, right? Particularly on a purchase side. Refi is a whole nother story, but on the purchase side, she listens, she wants to connect. So her authenticity is off the charts. So the things that we're working on in coaching right now is to fine tune her intentionality through processes and systems to allow her to be more present. The way that I've called it out is right now you're having light bulb moments where you want to go create something. Oh, you know what would be awesome? But she doesn't have the capacity for it. She doesn't have the margin for it. So those ideas are stuck in parking lots on whiteboards instead of moving to execution.
It's so good. And let me just tell you, what you just said, the greatest leader, we will drift in some of those areas at times. Like I can over-index to intentionality and lose some of my authenticity. And I can also at times default out of the process I need to be in. And so this is a gut check right now for everybody to say, where am I in that? And how do I, we talked about glasses a minute ago. When I wear glasses, this is the craziest thing that I found. I am visibly acknowledging a weakness to the entire world and compensating for it. Now this is crazy. Like, I mean, by wearing these, some people know that I can't see as well. Do you know what is crazy? When I wear these, people tell me I look smarter. Every time I wear them, they're like, man, you look so much smarter. Here's a principle here that every leader needs to learn. When we have a weakness and we acknowledge it and make up for it, people don't think less of us, they think more of us. And so I would challenge you on the authenticity, intentionality spectrum is to acknowledge where you are and work to make up for it. And when you do that, you know what I find? People will actually give you a little bit of grace. When I tell people, hey, I want to make sure that I'm adding value, I want to do that, they will give me more grace than they would otherwise by me acknowledging a place where I'm vulnerable and I'm trying to get better.
It's so good, Kevin. A huge part of, I think, the importance of this right now is people are starting to tumble to the fact that AI is an amazing companion tool. It's an amazing conversation that I can have to ideate and become better. But the authenticity is going to be lacking. I just had a client post an article on LinkedIn today, and I said, dude, that's great. It's clearly written by ChatGPT, so the next wave of that is you've got to inject your own personality to it. So a great example of this, I was talking to my wife about it. I don't know if you guys ever watch Kelly Clarkson, but that woman, in addition to being an amazing singer, has created this entire brand and just opportunity after opportunity. She's on The Voice. She's got the Kelly Clarkson show because she is 100% authentic. So much so that it's her own TV show on NBC. They have to bleep her every single episode because she uses profanity from time to time. But people love her because she is completely her. She used to sing barefoot because she just felt better about it. You guys, stop trying to be something that you're not.
I want to hit that. And I this is me being real transparent on this. I spoke at an event not too long ago with Jesse Itzler. Are you guys familiar with Jesse?
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Like
I am a big fan, but I will tell you, at first I did not want to like him. And here's why. Like, we are different. Like, I'm looking, I wanted these cool t-shirts that Coach Kevin is wearing. That's not me. I am in a blazer right now and a button down. That's who I am. Jesse looked like he had not showered in a week. Like, and this is me here. I quoted Proverbs, a proverb during mine. He dropped the F-bomb several times. Now, let me tell you this. Same event, two totally different. Both of us got standing ovations. And that's not self-aggrandizing.
Very cool.
Why is that? Because we were both authentic to who we are. And I think so many people, I met with one of your movement people, Coach Kevin connected with, Kim Harrington in Atlanta. He's authentically who he is. He's awesome. And I think authenticity, you've got to have intentionality, but you've got to authentically be who you are. And in the age of AI especially, people want to connect with somebody who is confident in their identity and who they are. I mean, this may be the most important thing that people can learn if they want to be great connectors in life.
Yeah, man.
Love it. Love it. Well, Kev, we're getting near our end here, but I'd love to hear some other final parting thoughts. And I think you might have another book in there somewhere coming, right? So what?
So I am working on a new book on authenticity. I think it is, and by the way, I'm not the only one. I saw Adam Grant's got a book called Vibe coming out in October. Like the ability, Dave Ramsey's got a new book about connecting. People are trying to figure out connections. Let me give a specific parting thought to the movement family, because speaking of Proverbs that I mentioned, I try to make it a practice to read whatever day of the month it is, read that chapter of Proverbs. And over the years, some of that has really resonated with me, and some of it did not make sense at all. And one of those that was not super clear to me was Proverbs 14:4. It says, "Where there are no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come by the strength of the ox." Okay, I got Coach Bill in LA. I got Andy in the Midwest. Kevin, I don't know if he's in Florida or Chicago today, but I'm in Atlanta. I don't think any of us spend a lot of time on a farm.
Well, Andy kind of does.
Okay. Andy, you and I here. So I married a girl that was in the FFA in high school, Future Farmers of America. Because I have spent time where she grew up, I began to understand this. It's a farming principle, but it applies to the mortgage world. Listen, that proverb is painting the picture of two farms. The first farm, it says there are no oxen. So that's an animal for anybody who needs to know that. There's no animals. So the manger or the stable or the barn is clean. Here's the translation. On that farm, there's no crap to clean up. No animals, so no crap. But on the other farm, it says abundant crops come by the strength of the ox. Here's what it does not say, but it implies. On that farm, there are animals to do the work, which means there are side effects of that progress. And that side effect is there is crap we've got to deal with. On the surface, I mean, but guys, one of the opportunities in the mortgage business, how many people have left this business over the last few years? They're dropping like flies, which means if you have stayed here, there is a potential to look out and say, maybe I should be in a different industry, a different world. Maybe it's easier somewhere else. Can I tell you something? If you're dealing with crap, that is a side effect of progress. That means you are a part of something that has an amazing opportunity. And I would just encourage you to keep your eye on the prize. Don't get focused on the crap you're shoveling. Remember the purpose that you're doing this for. Remember your goal, your process. And here's what I would say. If you'll do that, how you do things changes how you do things. if you'll change your approach to the crap you're dealing with, I believe you'll be so much more effective and so much more successful. So it's all about the way we view things will change how we do things. And we got to view that crap as a side effect of growth and something that is getting us to what we want to accomplish.
Wow.
Perfect closing story,
coaches,
man.
That's good. Hey guys,
Buddy,
thank you
what a
for the
pleasure.
opportunity. And thanks for
What a
what you guys
pleasure, man.
do.
love to have you on again, brother, when we have a little clearer connection. I just appreciate everything you bring to everyone that's around you. And I know it's from your heart and your soul and from what God's laid upon you. And we appreciate all that you do, brother. So looking forward to session number 2 with you.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Good luck in downtown Manhattan, brother.
Thanks, guys. Hope you have a great
All right.
day.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
You
Take
as
care.
well.
Thank you. Bye.
Boy, that was fantastic. That was fantastic. I know that the video was a little bit rough. He's a busy guy, and so we caught him as he was commuting in between speaking engagements, which just when you think about that in and of itself is pretty cool. But
Totally.
the opportunity was there. Now, off after call, we did have a chance to talk to him. We will have a second interview. We will redo this, not redo this, but add to this because there's some great content that we unfortunately had to scrub out because of reception.
Yeah, man. And we just made a decision that it's better to give you guys the little bit that was great in this interview in the car. But yeah, we're going to look forward to a live segment with him, and we'll dig not only deeper on what we talked about, but some things that we didn't talk about. A couple things that really hit me, Andy, here that I would love for people to maybe re-listen to is this idea of purpose. That once, we have an amazing purpose here at Movement Mortgage. You've got to have your own sense of purpose. And because of that, he said, when purpose becomes clear, the mundane becomes meaningful. Beautifully said. And then the last thing I just think was so much, Andy, every single day we're dealing with hearing about scared by AI. And he had an interesting comment there that I think if I'm a loan originator, it's going to be really important for me to grasp this idea of authentic connections. And he said, in the age of AI, people want to connect with people who are authentically who they are. It's just so critical, you guys. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Please listen to it again. And yeah, know that we're going to hang out again with KPS.
Don't forget, like us, follow us, and love us on the podcast. We look forward to hearing back from you all soon.
See you next time.